but they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary.
I have a long list of revolutionaries I feel inspired by. I always contemplate how they would maneuver in today's political climate. One of my favorite revolutionary figures of all time is Chairman Fred Hampton. He was the chairman of the Chicago Black Panther Party. Under his leadership, he built coalitions with non-black groups to combat capitalism. He focused on the class struggle in a way that didn't ignore the black struggle. On December 4th, 1969, Chicago police, with the help of the FBI via its counterintelligence program, they killed him. Hampton was drugged by an informant, then shot twice in the head while asleep. The police fired nearly 100 rounds at the apartment, while the Panthers only fired one shot, likely a reflexive response. He was only 21 years old. Every day when I think about Fred Hampton, my mind naturally shifts to thinking about the Black Panther Party as a whole. I miss the party, even though it disbanded around 2 decades before I was even alive. I miss the fairly superficial aspects like the aesthetics, the black berets and the black leather jackets were cold as fuck, honestly. But as a communist, particularly a black one, I understand that the party was far deeper than just aesthetics. The Black Panther Party was a black-ran Marxist-Leninist organization. They radicalized many into realizing that capitalism and racism go hand in hand, and you must oppose both to achieve our freedom. They engaged in a lot of actual activism, from providing children with free breakfast to cop watching. Today, there is a void that can be filled by a black revolutionary organization. So, through this video, we're going to be talking about why we need the Black Panther Party back today. Part 1. Why do we need it back? Race reductionism. Obviously, the left ideology is based on the class struggle. The proletariat, also known as the working class, comes in all colors, genders, and sexualities. So these differences at the end of the day shouldn't matter, but they do. While there is significant overlap between the ways the rich elite oppress the working class and the ways the white class oppress black people, there are some systems that uniquely impact the black community. Redlining at its core is a restrictive capitalistic oppression method, but it's not used against the working class as a whole. It was used on black people. A key reason behind slavery is obviously economic, but it's ignorant to purely view it as just economic. It was done to black people because the social construct of whiteness deemed us as inferior and non-human, thus in their eyes justified exploiting our labor and restricting us from the rights guaranteed to all men. There are a lot of black oppressive systems and actions that actually have absolutely nothing to do, or at the most, very little to do with capitalism. Lynching is not an economic related issue. Police may exist to protect property in the state, but they're not shooting unarmed socialists, communists, and others deemed as enemies of the state, at least yet. They're shooting unarmed black men. Our healthcare system is a capitalistic hellhole, but hospitals don't receive more money for their egregious negligence that kills black women. These are issues that are at their core not driven by capital gain, but by racism. Due to its lack of direct connection with capitalism, many on the left, particularly white and non-black leftists, overlook or simply ignore these issues, sometimes even downplaying the issues as just not as important as fighting capitalism. This is race reductionism. Race reductionism in this context is to disregard the impact of racial issues when discussing socialism. I believe a revived Black Panther Party or any black socialist organization could be a powerful tool in reducing this. The Black Panthers viewed the plight of black people in America not just through a Marxist lens, but through their very own black lens as well. Now, imagine if I just snap my fingers and capitalism dissolves immediately. We all wake up in the morning and a fully fleshed out communist system takes over. First of all, I'd fucking cry tears of joy.
I used to pray for times like this.
But I guarantee you, racism would unfortunately be the biggest social issue we would have. In fact, it'd probably be worse than it is right now. I believe it is completely possible for white supremacy to exist and even flourish within a socialist communist system. They wouldn't be able to weaponize economic oppression against black people, that's true, but they would sure as hell find something. This is why any Marxist, Leninist, socialist, communist, whatever on the left, any movement like that isn't actively anti-racist is bullshit. We, as the black working class, don't have the privilege to pick and choose when to combat white supremacy or when to combat late-stage capitalism. We have to fight both at the same time every waking moment. I think an organization committed to acknowledging this and leading the charge would benefit everyone. They would also have enough influence to keep these white leftist organizations accountable for any enabling or ignoring of racial issues. Black people can better radicalize Black people. A key aspect of strategic messaging isn't changing your message for each group, as that leaves potential for inconsistencies within your beliefs. Strategic messaging is keeping the message the same while changing the messenger to match the target audience.
Message!
See, if the goal is to build a class conscious, diverse working class, then the messengers should also be diverse. A Black communist is very likely to have a much easier time recruiting and radicalizing other Black people than a communist of a different race. This isn't racist, but rather an acknowledgement of the obvious. Black people in America share a culture, often share a local community, and share an overall experience of being Black in America. The Panthers were able to utilize this because they had lived this experience themselves. This truly matters. Sure, we the working class are united in our struggle against capitalism and our torment caused by the ruling class. But we are also the most diverse working class group in history, as far as I know. We need to acknowledge and understand our diversity, as well as build on top of it to form bridges of class consciousness. Black people have a shared culture where those outside the culture would need to be taught the intricacies of it, while it's second nature to other Black people. As I said in my previous video, I reject diversity in oppressive systems. I don't care to see diversity in capitalism, fascism, Zionism, or imperialism. I would rather see all these systems die, not add some diversity hires. I, however, feel the opposite about revolutionary acts. It's going to take diverse leadership of the working class to mobilize the diverse working class. Currently, I believe communism has, well, leftism in general, honestly, has a bit of a diversity of messengers issue. The Black Panther Party, an openly Marxist-Leninist group, could solve this problem. Dismantling Black anti-revolutionary propaganda. If you are Black and watching this video and end up disregarding or forgetting most of my points in this entire video, at least grasp what I'm about to say here. Black capitalism will not save us. Sure, some random rich content creators may be flaunting their wealth for the sake of your entertainment. I don't know why you find it entertaining, but just bear with me. I need you to understand that the chances of you becoming homeless or slapped with a ridiculous amount of medical debt in the next 5 years are far, and I mean far higher than you becoming rich like those content creators you like to consume in your entire lifetime. This, of course, is not specifically a Black issue, as I'm sure people of all races have similar delusions, but Black people uphold their billionaires and the Black members of the ruling class in a unique way. Black Americans acknowledge that we face many racist systemic hardships that make it harder for us to succeed in comparison to our counterparts of other races. So when you see a Black person overcome this adversity and become rich, the inspiration of seeing one of us make it gives us this false hope that we all can. It's a symbolic victory since the wealth of a Black billionaire will never reach our community in a beneficial or efficient way. The only truly beneficial or efficient way of uplifting the Black working class is to destroy systems of capitalism, not beating the odds and winning capitalism as a single Black individual. See, in my personal opinion, there are only two reasons you could logically want to be rich. You are either possessed with greed of biblical proportions, or you just don't want you, your family, or your community to struggle anymore. That's the only two reasons I see. The second reason is something we can work with. We just need to push against the uplifting of Black capitalism to push our community towards the real solution. Black radicals back in the day excelled in this. Along with Black capitalists shutting down Black revolutionary action, there's another guilty party, and it's literally a party. Black liberals are sellouts. I know I just pissed off a large group of people, so let me rephrase it. Black liberals are sellouts. They like to call leftists racist for saying this, and sometimes they do have a point, but they can't say a damn thing to me. Let's play a game, dear viewer. In your head, or just out loud, doesn't matter, tell me the three most prominent Black Democrats right now. They don't even have to be in office right now. Just three Black liberals with power and influence today. Ready? You can pause if you need to. Okay, so now here are my questions. Question 1. Did any of them advocate or do anything to combat police brutality after George Floyd, so like 2023 to now? Question 2. How about for Black unemployment, homelessness, educational racism, or any Black issue since 2024? Question 3. How many of your three names advocated for Israel or take Zionist money? I'm going to take a wild guess that your answers are no, no, and all three. Black liberals should be called liberals who are black, since black will always come last to them. There's not enough room in their agenda for us black people since they're too busy advocating for capitalism and Zionism. Pat, why single out the black ones? It's not like they're the only liberals that don't give a fuck about the black community. You're correct to ask, dear viewer. Their race is important, first of all, because they're black themselves, but also because liberals make the race important due to their love for optics. They love to promote black symbolic victories like statues, wearing kente cloths, electing black politicians like these black liberals, without actually addressing the systemic causes of the suffering of black Americans today. And there's a pretty clear reason why they do this. Earlier, I mentioned race reductionism as ignoring racial issues in favor for class issues. Well, if you reverse it, you get class reductionism, the reason why I hate black liberals. Black liberals pushing the class reductionist views ignore the class issues that impact the black community. Addressing the material suffering and material conditions of black people, like the disproportionate rates of homelessness, environmental racism, educational segregation, no access to proper food, and a long list of other issues, will require you to attack capitalism. Why the fuck would the Democratic Party, currently being controlled by donors and lobbyists, advocate against the very same capitalism that's keeping them employed and paid? Any black activism that doesn't uphold, at the very minimum, socialist adjacent policies is performative, useless, and only serves to distract. Stop gassing up the Cory Bookers and the Hakeem Jeffries and the rest of these self-serving, counter-revolutionary black politicians. The people want a group or individuals that they can look up to and rely on to fight for them and beside them. Black liberals are neither of these things, and the Black Panther Party was both. With all the reasons I just addressed, you can make a very strong argument that having a Black Panther organization today is very much needed. A black organization addressing the specific ways capitalism hurts the black community without reducing the entire black struggle to simply as an offshoot of capitalism. A black organization that teaches the various black communities that electing black liberals and engaging in black-led capitalism is not the solution to our issues. A black organization that mobilizes thousands of black Americans into being an active, class-conscious working class. So basically, I made my case, right? Well, I actually haven't been entirely honest with all of you. I hope you'll make it to the end of the video before passing judgment and allow me to explain myself. I actually am against bringing back the Black Panther Party. Part 2, why we shouldn't bring the Black Panther Party back. I like the Black Panther Party. And as I said in the beginning, I do miss the party. But even things we love and miss are imperfect. A direct revival of the party would include all the flaws that led to its destruction, outside of government interference, of course. Flaws that, unfortunately, are key aspects of what the party was. We absolutely need a black Marxist-Leninist communist organization today. That much is, I feel, I clearly argued earlier. However, to maneuver through today's America, today's world, and to avoid the repetition of original Black Panther Party missteps, a black revolutionary organization today would need to function so much differently than the Panthers did. Calling it a new Black Panther Party would just be disingenuous, misleading, and would only serve our desire for nostalgia and familiarity. I am against bringing back the Black Panther Party because we need something new, completely new. Before I get deeper into what I think this hypothetical organization should look like, I feel it's important that I address where exactly things went wrong for the Panthers. A true sign of maturity is being able to openly criticize things you love. In fact, critiquing people and things that you love may be one of the greatest acts of love you can do. I appreciate the Panthers for all their hard work and for laying the groundwork for me to even make content like this, but we need to ensure we don't fail in the same ways that they unfortunately did. The failures of the party. Let me address this again before I get some angry comrades accusing me of victim blaming the party. Yes, I am very well aware that the FBI was the most significant cause of the party's downfall. I need you all to be aware of this too. Yes, all the critiques of the party that I will get into later are still valid, but are all secondary when you account for the impact of the counterintelligence program. J. Edgar Hoover, the first FBI director, well, the Bureau of Investigation, which Hoover was still the director of, became the FBI in 1935, and he maintained control. Anyway, J. Edgar Hoover might be one of the most evil, egregious pieces of filth in human form ever produced by this godforsaken country. This man might very well be the most anti-black racist person of the 20th century. You know, the century of the civil rights movement. He hated black people more than I hate Zionists and fascists. Rumors say that he himself has black ancestry, which, I mean, I can kind of see it. So white passing Uncle Ruckus over here was obsessed with the concept of a black messiah, a black revolutionary figure who would succeed in unifying the black community across the country to revolt against the white capitalist imperialist empire of the United States. All the men the FBI went after were believed to have the potential of becoming this black messiah. Fred Hampton was one of them, hence the movie title Judas and the Black Messiah. Chairman Fred was killed because the FBI implanted an informant, William Judas O'Neill. Instead of silver, he received a monthly stipend and a reduced jail time for a crime he committed as a teenager. The guy later killed himself due to guilt. So, once again, while all the criticism I'm about to get into is still valid and still important to learn from, acknowledging the state's involvement with destabilizing the black revolutionary movement is more important. Any black organization that chooses to adhere to communist Marxist-Leninist beliefs must be prepared to deal with the intervention from the surveillance state, especially today in a post 9/11 America with the Patriot Act, Homeland Security, the NSA. It's a different ballgame. They will slander you, discredit you, imprison you, even go as far as killing you if you're enough of a problem for them. Sure, it is beautiful to be willing to die for a good cause, but it's even better to be willing to live for one. I want us all to live and bask in the tomorrow that we are fighting so hard to achieve. So, all right, outside of the FBI and the state interventionists, what other issues did the party have? Well, for starters, infighting, something that I know the left is not new to. See, as Fred Hampton said, I don't care how much theory you got. If it doesn't have any practice applied to it, then that theory happens to be irrelevant. The party, for the most part, agreed on theory. However, when it came to practice, issues arise. Most notably, the issues between Huey Newton and Eldridge Cleaver, who became a conservative later in life. I'm not going to touch that. Newton wanted to focus on community programs, while Cleaver wanted to focus on international solidarity and militancy. Newton ended up expelling Cleaver from the party, and Cleaver ended up denouncing him. Then in later years, Newton began to consolidate power and rejected dissent from within the party, expelling those who disagreed with him, or at the very least, pushing them away from him. Part of this problem is how the party never had a system for dealing with internal conflicts. They just happened with no institutional solutions to correct them.
Example 272, how black women have never been protected in the black community, even in the presence of activists. Did you know that a lot of prominent members of the Black Panthers were abusers and sexual predators? Eldridge Cleaver, a prominent political activist and leader of the Black Panthers, was a convicted rapist. In his book Soul on Ice, he admitted that he would rape black women in the ghetto for practice so he could prepare for his rape spree of white women, because in his mind, raping white women was a revolutionary act. This is a person who reached the levels of being a prominent leader and political activist in the Black Panther movement. How does something like that happen if black women are genuinely protected? If women are genuinely protected? If misogyny, misogynoir, and sexism and rape culture are taken seriously?
Another issue which I need you all to pay deep attention to is misogyny and patriarchy. The party had some very deep patriarchal and misogynistic practices. It's a lot deeper than just the hyper-masculine aesthetics that the party presented in its beginning. Several women within the party were by male party members. Several male members, including those in leadership positions, were abusing their partners. And despite about 2/3 of the party's members as being women at some point, men were still overwhelmingly in charge of the party. Elaine Brown, the first and I believe only woman to become the chairman of the party as a whole, was beaten and undermined by men within the party. In order to be consistent in our beliefs against upholding the systems of patriarchy, as well as us rejecting misogyny and misogynoir, A new Black Revolutionary Party cannot simply be a repeat of the Panthers.
Many of y'all's favorite activists that y'all love to claim that you care about were members of the Black Panther Party, but were ousted because ultimately their politic didn't align. People like Angela Davis ended up leaning more towards Black socialist parties. People went towards Black liberation parties who practiced intersectional politics when it came to women, sexuality, and what Black people need to do in order to achieve liberation. Because when controlled by a bunch of cishet Black men, political parties oftentimes tend to become reformations of Black capitalism with the pursuit of getting the power of the white man in order to use it against other marginalized people. This is to say that any organization strictly and strongly coordinated and organized by cishet Black men are to be treated with suspicion, because most of you cishet Black men are not capable of being intersectional, not because you can't do it in a literal sense, but because you refuse to do it.
Then we have the centralization issue. While for the most part, local chapters had autonomy, the party still manages to be too centralized in some dangerous ways. I think any revolutionary organization should be democratized without having a particular chairman. Having a chairman, to be completely honest, is just having an easy target. They, and by they I mean the feds, knew who was in charge of the party at all times, which basically told them who to kill, who to imprison, or who to harm. Obviously, some people will need to take a leadership role in a new organization, but no one man should hold all the power, nationally or locally. My last complaint, the party should not have been involved in electoralism. Under the leadership of Elaine Brown, they managed to get the first Black mayor of Oakland elected. And I think that's about it, success-wise at least. If a group is going to be staunchly Marxist-Leninist, then they should avoid wasting valuable resources on electoralism. Local elections are indeed important, but direct community action is more important. There would certainly be no purpose of a new party engaging in electoralism today, since we have several left-wing organizations that already focus on electoralism. So to conclude this section, I don't think we should simply bring back the Black Panther Party. We can look up to their actions and the groundwork they put in, but we don't need to look at them through the lens of rose tints or nostalgia. We can be honest. It was a very flawed organization. We shouldn't want to bring them back. We should want to make something new. They walked, so now we should be running. Obviously not running for office, though. Let's not do that. Part 3, the new Black Revolutionary Party. Learning from the Panthers, what to change. Let's develop this hypothetical organization for analysis purposes. For now, let's just call it the NBRP, the New Black Revolutionary Party. So, if this organization is to learn from the Black Panther Party, in what ways will they be sure to not repeat the same mistakes? For starters, there needs to be a form of conflict resolution and internal rules that each member must uphold. This should include a no-tolerance policy for serious egregious acts such as sexual assault and harassment. For conflict resolution, I would recommend a restorative justice approach rather than a justice approach. Justice should be focusing on repairing the relationships and the community that became damaged in the face of conflict. At the end of the day, we are all comrades and we're in this together, so we got to work this out. There also needs to be a major push for the inclusion of all types of Black people who are open to Marxist thought. This means opening the doors to Black women, Black queers, Black people with mixed heritage, and Black people all over the diaspora. In my opinion, you can't truly be pro-Black if you aren't in support of and welcoming to all Black people outside of character-based reasonings, of course. The Black Panther Party attempted to be inclusive later on, but many have said it was too little too late. The NBRP must be inclusive well before day one. This helps the radicalization efforts for the more niche subsects of the Black community. I mentioned in passing earlier that having a chairman is not a good model. Not only does it produce an easy target to dismantle the entire movement, but it also adds the opportunity for anti-democratic processes in a community-based organization. No one individual should ever have the opportunity to take and hold all the power. So, rather than chairman, have a council of mentors. They don't have any more power than anyone in the group on paper, but are essentially de facto leaders due to their experience and ability to lead. Now, however, as nice as it would be to just jump straight into a fully decentralized group, that's not feasible from the start. So here's how I think it should be structured. So, assuming they utilize the chapter structure, there should be two branches. Each individual local chapter has one branch, and then above that would be the national chapter. The national chapter should be ran by a starting council of the people who decided to start the organization in the first place. The national chapter should only have a few powers, giving and taking endorsements from each local chapter based on the ability to uphold to the rules and the values, representing the party on a national level, and facilitating the creation of other chapters. Bear with me as I go a lot deeper into this. Let's just say, hypothetically, the first people who started this organization are a group of 7. It absolutely needs to be an odd number for this to work. So these starting 7 are the National Council. They will hold power until there are at least 7 local chapters across the country. All 7 chapters each elect a representative, and the 7 representatives make up the new council. They hold power for, let's say, 2 years, then boom, more elections with hopefully more chapters, thus leading to a bigger council. Now there will be a national party that is completely democratic and represents the needs of every local chapter. There also won't be a single individual in charge who outside entities can just kill, arrest, or compromise. Slap on some term limits, and this should be a rather stable system. Let's address another important topic before anyone asks in the comments. Yes, I think this organization should just be Black. I support and encourage a coalition with other groups, of course. This is something the Black Panther Party tried to do through Fred Hampton's Rainbow Coalition, and I think it was a failure not only because it unfortunately died with Fred Hampton, but it wasn't a strategy that was adopted on a national level, probably because it was too dangerous. Now, many of you may be wondering which groups to be in coalition with. I, as a communist, am very, very well aware how other communists feel about the DSA. They don't fuck with them in the slightest from what I've seen. I know some of us do, but a lot of us don't. Here is my 2 cents from personal experience. My left journey started with the DSA, and all the local versions of leftist organizations, at least in my area, are significantly more left than the national versions. I remember I went to a Working Families Party meeting, and they were literal communists there. So don't count them out before you hear them out. They might surprise you. If you're not Black, but an organization like this interests you, I see 2 options. Option 1, you could join an existing leftist organization that aligns most with your goals, which then leaves option 2. You start your own organization with the same structure. You could make it race-based, LGBTQ-based, or even gender-based. You want a revolutionary women's group, which is fucking cool. Now you can be in coalition with the NBRP without just overtaking it. I will always encourage coalition, even with groups that aren't as left as you. So long as they acknowledge the working class is being fucked over and they acknowledge racism is bad, we can be in coalition. I think it's good to meet the working class wherever they are at the current moment, right? Right now, the working class seems to be heavily gravitating towards the DSA and rallying behind figures like progressive groups turn liberals into democratic socialists. Therefore, we should be turning democratic socialists into communists without relentlessly attacking them for being progressive. So these are differences that I believe the NBRP would need to take to succeed. These policies and actions make it a completely different organization in comparison to the Black Panther Party. So what are some aspects of the OGs that I think would be great in this organization? As I mentioned in passing, I like the local chapter structure. It makes the most sense. This party should act locally on a national scale. This way, each chapter will be specifically adapted to address the unique local communities. Let's see, Black people in the Northeast, in the West Coast, and in the Deep South do not have the same exact lived experiences despite all being Black. They should have chapters that represent their community. The other important aspect to take from the Black Panther Party is their direct community action. Let's take a little time to explain some community action. Mutual aid is when a community gets together and shares basic resources like food, money, clothing. It doesn't rely on charity or government assistance, just the community taking care of everyone there. A classic example of mutual aid is a community food pantry where everyone can just grab food as they need it and donate food as they don't need it. After school programs are rather self-explanatory themselves. They are supportive spaces for children to be fed, taught things that school won't teach them, enjoy recreational activities, and be somewhere safe while their parents and guardians aren't available. It can also keep the older kids off the streets. Political education is one of the most overlooked yet important acts of community action. It teaches the local masses about power, who holds it, why do we think we have none when we do, how to take the power back. This would also be for teaching Marxist theory in a way that's adapted to your community. Community healthcare clinics offer free and low-cost medical care. This is most effective in areas with no easy access to a hospital or no insurance. The Panthers used to have free clinics that offered checkups, STD screenings, vaccinations, and even sickle cell testing, while the government, like usual, didn't do shit. Tenant unions are a group of renters who organize together to demand safe, affordable housing and fight back against abusive landlords or rising rent. Also, in my personal opinion, the phrase abusive landlord is redundant. I think making money from housing in any need is inherently abusive. Anyway, tenants could refuse to pay rent together until repairs are made or organize power to prevent a neighbor from being evicted. An individual tenant has very little power. An organized building of renters, the parasite known as the landlord, is screwed. Lastly, let's talk about community defense. Community defense is just looking out for your community and acting against violence and acts of racism without relying on the unreliable police to protect your community. Sometimes the people you need to protect your community from are the police. Community patrols and other acts of defense greatly limit all threats, ensuring safety for everyone there. All of these are the kinds of actions the Panthers prioritized. The NBRP should certainly do the same. What's the point of a local chapter that doesn't serve its local community? Here's another major aspect of the Panthers that this new organization will need to have. It's actually insane that this is equally relevant now as it was back then. The Black Panthers were anti-Zionist, and the new party, as well as every left organization and individual, also needs to be active and anti-Zionist. I shouldn't have to explain this, as I already stressed the importance of solidarity. Black revolutionaries have constantly and consistently been in coalition with the Palestinian liberation movements, and we should be doing the same today. If our oppressors and their oppressors are in bed with each other, then we need to share resources and knowledge to oppose both. An example of this today would be backing the BDS movement. Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions, BDS, is a Palestinian-led movement for freedom, justice, and equality. BDS upholds the simple principle that Palestinians are entitled to the same rights as the rest of humanity. This movement provides an easy way to advocate for Palestinian liberation by simply not spending money on and shaming companies on the boycott list.
A boycott is a passive act. It is the most passive political act that anyone can commit, a boycott. Because what the boycott was doing was simply saying, we will not ride your buses. No sort of antagonism. He was not even verbally violent. He was peaceful.
I think a similar movement made for boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning corporations that are actively harming the Black community while maintaining solidarity with the Palestinian one would be a great idea. This could prove to be effective once you realize that there are several companies on the BDS list that Black people should also stop supporting for their own interests. For example, Airbnb. Airbnb needs to be boycotted by those who care for Palestine and for Black liberation, as it's an enemy to both. Airbnb offers rentals on stolen Palestinian land and promotes gentrification in America. This is one of the many corporations that hurts both Palestinians and Black Americans. More evidence that all liberation is interconnected. Black people should be avid anti-Zionists because everything Israel is doing to the innocent Palestinians right now is what was done to us by our colonizers. This is because colonizers are not original thinkers. They all share the same evil, racist, demented minds. They take our land and claim it as theirs despite the land rejecting them in every way, restrict our religion, strip us of our culture, dignity, and self-determination. They call us barbaric and primitive when they are the true barbarians, pillaging our land, raping, killing, and torturing us. A revolutionary Black organization must oppose all colonialism, and that includes that shit stain on the globe known as Israel. Free Palestine, free all of Africa, and free the entire world from colonization.
Dr. King's policy was that nonviolence would achieve the gains for Black people in the United States. His major assumption was that if you are nonviolent, if you suffer, your opponent will see your suffering and will be moved to change his heart. That's very good. He only made one fallacious assumption. In order for nonviolence to work, your opponent must have a conscience. The United States has none.
The last thing this new party needs to take from the Panthers is the open, uncompromising ideology. The Black Panther Party was staunchly Marxist-Leninist. The new Black Revolutionary Party must be the same, because anything less than that is not enough. No matter who they choose to be in coalition with or what community actions they take, it needs to remain a Marxist-Leninist organization. There is no longer a logical reason to run from this word. We must be unapologetically socialist and unapologetically communist at this point. I think the masses are warmed up enough to reintroduce these concepts back into their minds. Of course, adherence to this ideology will require some hard truths that will certainly turn away many people. For starters, rejecting all types of Black capitalism, even the Black capitalism many of us like. We must free my people from the shackles of stan culture and celebrity worship and low brain cell, possibly CIA planted drama pages and modern minstrels who promote Black capitalist propaganda. We don't need to be soft on Black billionaires. Fuck them! Conclusion. Let's end with a major truth. Despite how much effort I put into developing this hypothetical organization, there's a very likely chance no one is making this organization happen anytime soon. I don't live in a Black enough area to justify myself starting it either. But if any of you are Black and happen to come across this video, feel free to take my idea and start it. But until then, let's figure out what the fuck we're supposed to do without it. So most of the actions I described and recommended in this video, while easier to do with a Black revolutionary organization, are completely doable without one. We need to start some political education programs in our communities. That could be as simple as starting a book club where you break down theory, or sharing a BGR video. You should do both. But there's a fuck ton of mutual aid programs going on all over the place. Find one and contribute, or start your own with a few comrades. They haven't got to be comrades. We also need to uphold the principles of rejecting race reductionism, class reductionism, capitalism, misogyny, and misogynoir without relying on a Black revolutionary organization to lead the conversation. We can uplift and platform the large number of Black socialist communist voices we have floating around on the internet, like BGR. Make sure you like and subscribe. All right, bear with me for some final thoughts and some more shameless plugs. I apologize. Thank you all for watching. I had to rewrite this entire script. I'm not even going to lie. The original script I started well before my Mamdani video, which was honestly before I found my voice. I think this is the video where I finally found it. So I'm glad I spent the time to rewrite it. At the time of me recording this, we hit over 700 subscribers. We're getting close to 800 right now. I am very grateful to all of you for that. At the request of many of you, I created a BGR community Discord. Be sure to join that. And remember, no Fed posting. We are also active on Substack for free, so go subscribe in there as well if you'd like to read. The link to both the Discord and the Substack can be found in the description. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, comrades, peace.